in operation for quite a while. Before we talk about the newsletter, though, I'm wondering if the three of you could introduce yourselves.
I'm Martha McGrath. I'm the one that puts the newsletter together. I've lived in the building about 15 years, and I enjoy doing it very much.
How long have you worked with the newsletter?
I'm the one that started it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Since 2003.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm Charles Marker. I've been in the building about the same amount of time, and I've been working with Martha on the newsletter committee for 3 or 4 years. Before that, I did a column. And the member who's not here, before we let Jeffrey introduce himself, is Bruce DeMera, who is new-ish with the newsletter. And he actually is a professional journalist, so he's very helpful in copy editing and correcting all the stuff that we write.
Okay, interesting.
Yes, and excuse me, I'm Jeff Amos. I've lived in the building a little less than 2 years, but I've been involved in the newsletter for that whole time. I was involved in the newsletter at the previous condo I lived at, and I also like writing articles specifically about movie reviews.
Excellent. I read some of your movie reviews on the Oscar movies. They're really, really good.
Yes, and there'll be more, so
Excellent.
stay tuned.
Excellent. And you all know me, Mr. Siefert, and I'm here to interview these lovely people. So, talking about the newsletter, roughly how often does the newsletter come out?
Once a month.
Once a month? Every month? Has there ever been a month where it, for some reason, didn't get out?
Yes, if I may explain. I did it myself from 2003 till 2006, I think, or 7.
Or 8.
And there were about 6 months. I decided I didn't want to do it anymore.
Okay.
And there were about 6 months, I think, a couple of people tried it and they didn't like it. So then it was decided maybe we should have a committee and I wouldn't be all on my own.
Oh, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Must be many hands make light work.
Yeah.
It's all about collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how long has the newsletter been running for exactly? How many years?
What?
10 years.
10 years or so?
2003.
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent. How often do you need to meet to plan out and think about the newsletter before you actually get around to doing the work for a final draft?
Well, we meet once a month,
Okay.
but we also communicate via email.
Yeah.
You know, we send ideas back and forth, and if someone writes something, we do, we'll send a copy of the draft.
Okay, and so your meetings that you meet once a month, how long do those take?
About an hour.
About an hour meeting time, and then about how many emails do you send back and forth to each other in the production?
10, 15. He's the one who sends the
Wow.
email.
Okay.
Because we do send all the stuff that we write around to the whole committee, and that way people can give feedback or make suggestions for how to change it.
Right.
Sometimes we get some stuff back from Bruce, the man that I mentioned that's not here, and he'll have it in his email, and you have to look through to see what he changed.
Okay.
He may have changed quite a lot, but it's small things. So
Okay.
every time I look and I find a change, I think, oh yeah, that's better.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Sort of like you're getting a writer's conference from a professional.
That's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
So can you give me a rough estimate of about how many man hours it takes to put out an issue each month? Or woman hours, as the case may be?
Well, I've already started on March. As soon as one finishes, I start. And the things come through the months, like Don Sangster's movies. Somebody sends me the list of movies, maybe halfway through the month. So I don't know how many hours a month.
Well, I find that I probably spend about maybe, with the meeting being one, and then each movie review maybe takes about an hour, and then maybe we spend an hour just in total reading emails, so maybe 4 hours. It's not really that much.
So 4 hours for you, though.
Yes.
4 hours for you.
Probably quite a bit more for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm also a member of the board of directors, so part of my unofficial role is to bring in information that's appropriate for the newsletter from the board and write it up, either as little articles or larger articles or questions and answers from the board. So it might be 8 or 10 on
8 or 10 for
I
yourself
would
and for
say,
you, Martha?
oh yeah, I would
yours
say
is
that.
probably
More than that, yeah.
So with Bruce's involvement, we can probably estimate it takes about 40 hours per month to put out a newsletter, or maybe a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
That's not bad, yeah.
That's quite a lot of time to
Yeah,
invest.
it is.
So before I move on to where the information comes from in the newsletters, you know, you spend so much time working on this each month. Why do you do it?
Well, that's an interesting question. I just feel that it's important to contribute. I mean, when you live in a condo, and I'm not sure how many of your students live in condos or apartments, but you know, when you live in a big building like this, you know, you get to know the people, and it's also a community, and you feel like you're contributing, right? So that's the reason why I do it.
I started to do it, I'm sorry, 2003 was on the board of directors, and they thought that Take 40 that Charles sent you a copy of was only done once a year.
Oh, okay, so that was the the students will be able to see the photocopies that I'm making, the older model of the newsletter.
And so I just felt that there was something that was needed. But then, all those years, I had to put a disclaimer on the top of the newsletter that it wasn't the board that hadn't sanctioned this.
That it was just you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know.
And it's always been called, since you started this one, community newsletter, and I think partly we have that word community in there to suggest that it's not an official voice from the board or the management, that it's whoever wants to participate.
Well, the old one said that too, didn't it?
But that's what I mean, since 2003.
Yeah.
And I mean, the newsletter is a great resource, especially if you live in a building this size. Do you know roughly how many people live in this building? Because it is
492 units.
492 units, which
probably
each,
800 people.
Probably about 800 people. So you know, you're giving information
It's
to
like a small town.
Yes, exactly, our village, and we
Yes.
need to know about what we need to do to make the building work most efficiently. So, talking about the many different little bits and tips and bits of advice that you put in the newsletter, along with the more personal stuff, where do you get the wide range of information that you publish in the newsletter? Where does it all come from?
Well, as I say, there some, usually the front page I put Happy St. Patrick's Day or Valentine's Day, that's taken up with things like that. And every month movies go in, and every month usually we have questions and answers from the board. And there are a lot of things that just go on every month, we can publish that. If I know of an event, we ask when it's going to be. We ask after the event who worked at it, you know, to thank people.
And the more personal stories, you know, about dogs and some of the pets in the buildings and stuff, do those come from you guys, or do those come from anybody who wants to rent?
Well, we usually have to prompt them, don't we?
Oh, okay.
Oh, we have to chase them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's part of your role as well, as gentle reminders to do your writing.
Yeah.
I think when that first started, we would find somebody and say, can we write up a paragraph or two about your dog? And can we take a picture?
Okay.
And then one or two people came along who just wrote their own.
Okay.
And they wrote it in the voice of the pet.
Oh,
And that was
interesting.
good. So now we get people to do that. It's more fun.
Yeah.
They love it. Because they love their pets.
Of course, it's a chance to talk about their
And,
dogs.
and Charles here likes to sit, of course not at this time of year because it's cold, but there's a bench outside, and Charles sits there reading sometimes in the summer and uses that opportunity to grab people that come by and say, oh, you went on a trip, how'd you like to write about it for the newsletter?
Well, Charles, you can always ask me to write. I love to write, so if you come up with
We have a new
idea that you'd like
contributor.
to write about,
I
that'd be
figure I
great.
go to recruit.
You'll have to remind your teacher that he made that commitment.
In the earlier newsletter, I had a column, well, Charles alluded to it, it was getting to know you, and we had people. Charles would go around and take the pictures, and then Connie Dilly would do a write-up, and, you know, I always thank at the end of each, thank you,
Right.
Charles and Connie for
Well,
doing
it's a
that, but
nice
that
way to-
sort of waned a little.
We went through, I think, all the people that we could get to agree easily to
Okay.
every month.
Okay.
We were kind of running down, and it was getting to be such an effort to try to bludgeon people into it.
Right, okay. Excellent.
We could probably start that again.
Maybe, yeah.
So I've also noticed from looking at the older issues compared to the newer issues that you know, the quality and the amount of graphics and things that appear photos and images and stuff has really, really increased over the years. Is that just computers and, you know, more tech-savvy contributors?
Well, maybe.
Mhm.
Technology has increased.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah, and we went through with the 2003 to say 2008 or 9. For the first while, it was printed or copied at somebody's
The print shop.
copier. No, and then that was very poor, and we could never see the pictures.
Oh, okay.
So then, for a while, we took it to the printing shop over in College Park, and it was professionally done.
Right.
But the pictures were much better. You could
Yes.
at least make out who it
See,
was.
yes.
But then, since we've had a committee, I guess we've had a better printer here in the office.
Okay, so the office downstairs does the
Yeah.
printing.
Yeah.
Okay. And can you tell me about the comparison, like, you know, how many hard copies do you print compared to how many people are on an email list? Because I know I receive mine via email.
Yeah, Erica in the office prints 150 copies
Okay.
that she gives to me, and I put them up here in these rooms,
Mhm.
and they go sometimes faster than other times.
Okay.
She has a few more in the office that are printed,
Mhm.
and on the email list, we have about 200 people.
Okay.
But some of those are the same people who get it in.
Oh, okay, yeah, so
Hard
they're
copy.
getting hard copies. in.
Say, oh, I always like to read a hard copy.
Like the newspaper.
But so that's 350 at the most, so it's probably more like just under 300 that
Right.
maybe read it, which is quite a
That's
good
pretty
number.
good, yeah. Well, if you consider that, you know, sometimes people are sharing the copy in their
Yeah.
units, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
Before we start to wrap up, because I don't want to take too much more of your time, I was just wondering if you had a certain part of the newsletter that you really, really love, or a certain story type that you like to write or read about.
Newsletter's resident movie reviewer. So every month I go to about 2 movies and I do reviews in the newsletter. And, you know, I did a couple of reviews last month of Oscar-nominated movies, and I'm going to do a couple this month. So, but I mean, I like reading the whole newsletter. I find it's very interesting. And I like the way that Martha puts it together.
Mhm. Yeah, it's quite well done. I mean, I was quite taken by it. What about yourself, Martha?
Well, I don't really write that much for it. I'll do the thank yous to thank people and, you know, the events that are happening. When I first started it, I thought maybe people would contribute to, you see things for sale down on the bulletin board. I thought they'd do that or wish them happy birthday, but I mean, I don't know when everybody's
Right.
birthdays, and you can't do one without doing the other.
Mhm.
But I meant for it to be a bit more, people to be to subscribe.
More involved.
Yeah, to be more involved,
Okay. Mhm.
yeah.
And what about yourself, Charles?
Well, what I'm most interested in is providing information about the building that is factual stuff that residents and owners need to know, and they need different ways of finding these things out. So
Right.
that's what I like to put in. Mostly the question and answer things. Nobody really asks those questions in an email to the
Right.
newsletter. I just hear that question in the elevator. So
Mhm.
that's what I do.
Okay, so you're just picking up from what you hear and using it in the community.
And we also try to recruit people to write other things that might be of interest or are of interest to them. We've had Cammie doing restaurant reviews.
Mhm.
She's been unwell and hasn't done as many. But I'm always kind of looking out for people to write other things or other people to contribute. Kirby wrote some travel articles.
Yeah. Well, for example, I went on a trip in November to Germany and France, and one of the things I did, what was after Remembrance Day, is I visited the Vimy Bridge Memorial.
Okay, yeah.
And so I wrote an article about that. It was very, very interesting.
Oh, fascinating.
So it's all about, you know, you go on a trip, you find out something, you know.
Yeah, there's a wide range of sort of personal interest stories.
Yes, exactly.
For lack of a better word.
Exactly.
Well, I wanted to take a moment to thank you so much, and I'm sure I thank you on behalf of my students as well for sharing your time with us and your excellent answers to some questions about how a newsletter gets produced. So thank you very much, Charles. Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Jeffrey. And thanks to Dawn, too, who's filming this.
And thank